of nature, things of that 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 nature.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Pot of That Nature Postgame Accountability Session following Arkansas 63-31 beatdown. I got handed to him by Ole Miss. I'm Curtis Wilkerson. He's Andrew Ellis. We're with Inside Arkansas. We think we might get some newcomers to this thing because they're going to see the word accountability. And so you're going to get it. But it's going to be a little bit different than what we normally do. Folks, what this show typically is we go through and have a pregame show where we're previewing the opponent. And it's like, what are some musts if Arkansas is going to win the game? And then we challenge some Razorbacks who we think are important to the operation. And then we throw out some bold predictions. And then we come back in the aftermath, and it's really about us holding ourselves accountable for what we said. And sometimes it's right, and we pat ourselves on the back and we have fun with it. Sometimes we look like idiots, and we call ourselves out for it. And it's kind of the fun that we have, and it's informative too. We're still going to do that, but we're going to touch on those things that we talked about pregame pretty quick, because I think the accountability portion of this, Andrew, tell me if I'm wrong, hits a little bit different after what we just watched.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that need to be held accountable, which I guess we are in that category as well, because we thought this was going to be a closer game than it turned out to be. Now, we both did pick Ole Miss to win this game, and we were pretty open about how we didn't really have a great feeling going into this. I thought it was going to be a lot more of a defensive slugfest, which you will see in some of my challenges and my predictions that I threw out there. It was not as much of a defensive slugfest. In fact, there were damn near 100 points scored in this game. And so you win some, you lose some, but I look forward to continuing to break it all down with you, Curtis, because no one does it better than us.
That's right, man. And so what we'll do is we'll touch on the things that we normally would quickly, and then we'll get into kind of the topics that you guys, if you're watching, that you see laid out on the graphic here. And so we usually start with, are there certain position battles that we feel like Arkansas really needs to win or hold their own in to get a dub? Or they're like key areas of the game that they need to find success in? And so just to hit on those quickly, we thought that Arkansas's offensive line would need to at least hold up. They probably weren't going to win that matchup, but hold up against Ole Miss's defensive line. They did not. They allowed 13 tackles for loss and 8 sacks in this game, which is absurd. Taylor Green got banged up as actually, I guess it wasn't as a result of some of that, because it was on a longer scramble. But man, he was getting hit early and often, and so was Malachi Singleton back there. Brutal performance from the offensive line. And it was interesting. I think that this was one of the first things that we highlighted in the pregame. And then the actual pregame, we got the Sam Pittman blue light special versus Louis Vuitton comments in terms of, hey, we kind of went cheaper on the NIL front to build our offensive line, and Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin were throwing out a bunch of cash to their defensive line. And I guess money talked on Saturday.
Yeah, money did talk on Saturday. And Curtis, this is a little bit of a tough game to evaluate simply because of how lopsided it was. It felt like it was over, early in the second quarter there when they went up 28-3. And so, there's a lot of statistics, a lot of things that happened, and I don't really know what to make of a lot of it. I mean, the entire second half was garbage time for the most part.
Yeah.
And both teams did their fair share of stat padding. But Curtis, one of the things we talked about going into the game was we didn't feel like Arkansas was going to be able to run the ball consistently against Ole Miss, which is obviously something Arkansas had a lot of success doing. Their run game was one of the best in the country early on when they were facing really bad competition. Ole Miss came into this game allowing just under 80 yards per game on the ground. Arkansas finished with, I believe, 127, which Malachi Singleton accounted for over half of that, it seemed like. I mean, I don't know what the final number was, but he had a few big plays late, which contributed to that. But overall, I felt like we were right in our assessment that Arkansas wasn't just going to be able to turn around and hand the ball off and get consistent gains on offense. And it was going to be a little bit on Taylor Green's shoulders. We didn't think he was going to be only playing one half of this game. We felt like it was going to be on his shoulders to kind of make some of those plays. And like you said, on that O-line to hold up. Ultimately, Arkansas made some plays in the passing game. I mean, with Malachi and Taylor combined, they finished 21 of 28 for 365 yards and the one touchdown that Luke has there late, which was really, really garbage time at that point. But I felt like there were flashes. I mean, Arkansas moved the ball a little bit in the first half, and it was all through the air. But really the story of this game, or at least the first half when it was really still a game, is that Arkansas just could not block that front. They couldn't block them when they were down at their own 1 yard line, led to the first touchdown of the game. And just consistently, it was hard for Arkansas to string together drives because there would always be one setback or one weird thing that would happen or a little bit of a rush situation. And so I think it was clear early on that Arkansas was going to have issues. And to give Ole Miss credit, because this might be one of the better defenses Arkansas has faced all year. Might be the best. And so you look at the numbers and you're like, Arkansas had 492 yards of offense. If you had told me that, Curtis, on Thursday, I would have been like, damn, they really moved the ball well. Like, credit to Arkansas.
They might win. Yeah.
But it didn't feel like that in the moment for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And folks, if you are looking for us to be screaming into the microphone and everything, just go back and watch the postgame show. I would just encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and do that. We're going to be really critical here, but we took a couple deep breaths, got a sip of water, and we're kind of in breakdown mode now. Yeah, you're 100% right about everything there on the offensive line. The other, kind of position battle, if you will, that we were looking at was Arkansas's defensive backs, which had been struggling against LSU and against Mississippi State, and then facing a bigger challenge against Ole Miss. That challenge got easier when it was revealed that Trey Harris, the top receiver in the SEC, second leading receiver in the country, was not going to play. It didn't matter. And you can look at it from a couple things, or for a couple different angles here, Andrew, of, we thought Jackson Dart has, I don't know if I'd say struggled, but he's not been as good against SEC competition as he was against other competition earlier in the season. Like, the completion percentage was about 10% down. He only had 3 touchdowns to just 1 interception in SEC play. Like, there was a thought that maybe they could figure some things out there. Jackson Dart goes 25 of 31 for a school record at Ole Miss, 515 yards, 6 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And the 2 quarterbacks combined for Ole Miss went for 562 yards and 7 touchdowns. It's the most Arkansas has given up in the history of the program. That's not good. No Trey Harris, no problem, because they did have a Jordan Watkins out there who went for 8 receptions, 254 yards, and 5 touchdowns. They also had another 100-yard receiver, Lee, 5 receptions for 127 yards. Wright missed it by 1. He had 9 catches for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was absolute aerial. I want to say aerial assault. It was destruction. It was like a nuclear bomb got dropped in the defensive backfield for Arkansas. And in the first half, it was because they were just getting beat. They were just losing those battles. In the second half, if we're talking about accountability here, it sure gave off the impression that they let go of the rope and were not playing as hard, not giving as much effort, and maybe didn't show as much pride as you would like to see from the defensive backfield. And I don't like singling guys out, so I'm not going to do that. But if you go back and watch, there was a reason why I tweeted out at one point, nice to see the effort there from Hudson Clark, because it really felt like he was the only guy in that secondary for stretches who was playing at full speed, trying to finish tackles, making a concerted effort to defend his guy. It was just a damn free-for-all in the secondary, and it was crazy to me.
The way we watch sports is we try and make sense of the things that we're seeing in real time. We see a long rushing touchdown and we're like, all right, the running back, was he great on that play? Was it a good block by the left guard? Was it, you're just trying to figure out why did that happen? And so you could say, hey, well, is it just that the secondary is that bad? Are Ole Miss receivers that good? Is the pass rush that bad? Is the linebackers? When you give up 63 points and 700 yards of offense, it's all of the above. Yep. And you mentioned letting go of the rope. It takes some of that as well. Going back to your point about Arkansas just simply getting beat in the first half, which, to be clear, they got beat. They got beat bad in the first half. I believe Ole Miss's first 3 plays, all 3 went at number 15 in an Arkansas Razorback jersey. Again, we're not naming names out here. But number 15 in an Arkansas jersey, they went right at him. They felt like they had a matchup there. Didn't take them long to realize they had a matchup against Marquise Robinson on the other end as well. And Hudson Clark went into the game for Jaheim Singletary after that first possession. And they made some plays on him as well. Jaden Johnson got beat deep for a touchdown. Like,
Metcalf,
there's nobody. Yeah, Metcalf. Then there was a few PIs, so really you could actually argue it was actually worse than the numbers indicated. And so take your pick. Dinko Slaughter as well, who also got banged up in this game. Like, literally every single player in the secondary had their fair share of struggling moments. The PFF grades are going to be ugly for this one. And Ole Miss had, even with their best receiver and their tight end down and their left guard down, Ole Miss is on a different level offensively. And I want to give them credit because they haven't been, it's not like, people, this might be their first time watching Ole Miss and you're like, oh man, that's just a great offense. Like, what are you going to do? they really hadn't been doing that all year.
Exactly.
They had not scored 30 points in an SEC game all year until they scored 63 today. And they were due for some progression. We always say due for regression.
Yeah.
Ole Miss offense was due for some progression because we know Lane Kiffin's a great play caller. We know Jackson Dart is a really talented quarterback. We know they've got weapons. And I felt like that offense had been underachieving. So a little bit of this was them just kind of rising to what I think they are, which is a really good team. But make no mistake about it, Arkansas did not show up in this game matchup-wise, and they didn't show up effort-wise, pride-wise, any of that. All the above on the defensive end.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all there. And to answer the question on the first topic there, any justification for the Hogs laying an egg versus Ole Miss? No. There is none. That was not okay. And there's no excuse making to be had. Not here. And I'm guessing not from the players or anybody. There damn sure shouldn't be.
No.
You got a big spot, another home game against another ranked opponent. You got a chance to clinch bowl eligibility. Get to 4-2 in the damn SEC. When was the last time you were there? A lot to have been excited to play for. And man, they just got punched in the mouth there early, and it was just it was curtains from there. Really, really disappointing effort. No justification. And there's blame to go around. The buck stops with the head coach, but it was a full team effort in terms of just not providing the type of effort necessary to even compete in an SEC home game. It's not cool, not okay.
I mean, I know people don't care too much about gambling spreads and stuff like that, but I think it matters. It was an 8-point spread. Ole Miss was favored to win this game. Single digits. Like, this was not expected to be a blowout, was not supposed to be a blowout. The LSU game that we've referenced a few times here lately, that was a 2 or 3 point spread, depending on where you looked. Like, these were not games that Arkansas was expected to just not be, we joke about how national media is raving about Arkansas and all that. Well, the national media thought Arkansas had a chance in this game. Arkansas fans thought they had a chance in this game. The Arkansas team, the players, did not think they had a chance in this game. That excitement and that will to win and that will to compete left their bodies very quickly, and they seemed a little not surprised by the result. I'll just say that.
Yeah, for sure. The whole the will to win, will to compete thing really stands out to me because it's just, at some point, I think the pride aspect of it really has to take over there, especially with Ole Miss, man, because Jackson Dart was yapping. Like, they were clearly trying to run it up on you. How many times did you hear the damn Hottie Toddy song, like in your own home stadium over and over? They're dunking on the basketball hoop that they brought out there. They got the fog machine. They're having dance parties. I mean, it was like, at some point you get really pissed off and you try to stop that. And it's my comment earlier on the postgame show was, if you don't like it, stop it. And did Arkansas like it? Because it didn't seem like they were really trying to stop it for large stretches there. The acceptance, or at least what felt like the acceptance of that, was crazy to me. And so to move on into the next topic, you're like, Arkansas not up for the challenge against the Rebels. No, they weren't. And that's the most disappointing thing about all of this, because again, it's really been up and down. Arkansas has not been good about stacking performances this season, good or bad. Like, it's just been very much a roller coaster ride. And this one was different though. Like, it's the LSU game. You competed well into the third quarter. The wheels kind of fell off on you. You made some some bad mistakes that you shouldn't make, but you belonged on the field. And in a game like this, you look like you didn't even belong on the field with Ole Miss, and it's your field. And getting beat by 5 touchdowns and the way that it went down, just absolutely unacceptable. Sam Pittman said he felt like they had one of their best weeks of practice, felt like they were he had them ready to play. You didn't. You just didn't. So I don't know. Just not okay.
I mean, our Ole Miss was 2-13 their last 15 trips, or maybe overall, maybe that's all their trips to Fayetteville. But I saw that stat a few times this week. Ole Miss is not used to winning in this stadium, and there were a lot of Hog fans who all year long dismissed Ole Miss because they say, "Hey, Arkansas always plays well against Ole Miss." Understand Pittman and Lane Kiffin, for whatever reason, this has been a very back and forth, very competitive rivalry.
Yes,
which is why it makes it all that more hard to process when the Hogs fail to show up in that game.
Yeah, you said, and not, I'm sorry for cutting you off there, but when we were driving back from Fort Worth today, you were like, I mean, I'm fully prepared for my entire shtick in the post game if Arkansas wins to be Sam Pittman is Lane Kiffin's dad. He's
which
a spotter.
everyone would have been rolling with that.
Yes,
and we were all
exactly.
I mean, look, neither of us picked Arkansas to win this game. I think there were a lot of fans who weren't super confident in this matchup, but everyone had that in the back of their mind. I mean, literally dating back to our preseason show when we did all the wins and losses, people were like, y'all are giving Ole Miss way too much credit. Like, they always suck against Arkansas. They're not going to beat us in Fayetteville. Like, a lot of the Arkansas fan base felt that way. And I'm sure there's some listening that don't feel that way, but we were kind of shamed for not feeling like Arkansas had a great chance in this matchup. And turns out they didn't even have as much of a chance as we gave them credit for, which wasn't that much.
Yeah, no kidding. Well said. And so again, we dish out individual challenges before the game. And we're holding them accountable. We're going to hold ourselves accountable too. So we'll run through them real quick. We've talked a lot about the secondary already. But I challenged Marquise Robinson basically to have the best performance of his career because I thought he was going to be guarding Trey Harris. Turns out he had an easier assignment and did worse than expected. No flappy wings in this game, or though he might have done it once. I don't know, but
do it one time on a ball that was overthrown.
Yeah, that was not his best work. And I think you issued a challenge to TJ Metcalf. Is that right? To kind of get back to being a playmaker in that secondary.
I did, and I love TJ. I love his game, and I think he's going to have a really solid career. I did not feel like he accepted that challenge, and it's not just TJ. He's far from alone in this, but I felt like there was a chance. We talked about how Jackson Dart, I think he'd only thrown 3 interceptions all year, had done a good job taking care of the ball, and Arkansas's turnovers kind of come in bunches, and I was like, man, if Arkansas is going to win this game, they're going to need someone to make those plays. Obviously, Arkansas has some history rattling Ole Miss quarterbacks. Matt Corral comes to mind, and I didn't think he was going to go out there and throw 6 picks, but I felt like, the stage was kind of set for Arkansas's defensive backs. Someone was going to have to step up and make a play. I felt like TJ was the most likely, and it turns out none of them stepped up to make the big play. And so you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, for sure. I dished out a challenge to Addison Nichols just because I knew that Ole Miss was very, very stout up front on the defensive line, especially with Walter Nolan just being a game wrecker in there. And he was, but it was a full group effort from left to right on the offensive line. So not to single him out, but that is the individual that I sent a challenge out to. Just tough scenes for that Arkansas offensive line. And they got a lot to work on during the bye week because it don't get any easier with the Texas defensive front when they get back to it. So after that though, in terms of the individual challenges, I mean, we kind of crushed, onto something there. I mean, you had Andrew Armstrong, 6 receptions for 135 yards, still no freaking touchdown. But that was a hell of a game from him from a statistic standpoint.
He had like a 40-something yard reception, which was at the time felt like a big play. And I was like, man, is he about to just turn on the burners and score himself here from 50, 60 yards out? Made a lot of big plays, had 135 yards. He's going to continue to be top 2, top 3 in the SEC in receiving. He's very good. I felt like, when you're in these matchups like this, you kind of need your stars to show up. You need your good players to even play above their normal output. And I felt like Andrew Armstrong is one of the very few players on the team who shows up every day. He's as consistent as can be. You just know you can count on him. I saw someone in our post-game reaction chat that said Andrew Armstrong doesn't deserve this team. And frankly, they're right. Andrew Armstrong, man, that's one dude. You can point the finger a lot of directions. You can't point it at Andrew Armstrong. That dude is an NFL wide receiver, and it is a joy to watch him play. And Hog fans enjoy these last few games.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. He's been great. I issued a challenge to Taylon Green just to he kind of put it all together and had that complete game against the JV school in Mississippi. I challenged him to do it against the varsity. Loaded results because obviously he got hurt early in the game. And when he did get hurt, he had his share of mistakes there early. I know a couple fumbles, but he was starting to get it going a little bit. The offense was starting to hum on that drive, and then he went down and things kind of stalled out. And then he clearly wasn't 100% from there. He threw some balls that probably should have been picked off that weren't. One in particular, I remember. Maybe it was a couple. I know Pooh Paul had one that went right through his hands, and damn it, one of my bold predictions is that Pooh Paul would get a turnover, and he dropped that one. But whatever.
Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, he was hurt. But still, at the end of the day, 10 of 14, 158 yards. He wound up only going for 16 yards rushing. I would like to go look at the sack adjusted because he was just getting his freaking head taken off. I can't say that he accepted the challenge, and I can't give him a free pass just because of the injury, because he made some mistakes out there, but he was given no chance to do anything in this game. Ole Miss, that pass rush, man, like it was going to be a nothing burger for the most part for Taylor Green. He was put in a tough position there.
Which, by the way, shout out to Malachi Singleton for playing pretty well in his time there in the second half, in admittedly in garbage time. But yeah, anybody that came away from this game and felt like Arkansas had as a QB issue with number 1 or number 2, I just feel like you watched a different game than us.
Yeah, for sure. My other one was no fluke for Luke Taz. Just continue to get him involved, and garbage time touchdown. I don't care. 5 receptions, 77 yards, and a score. So they did get him involved. They targeted him 5 times throughout the course of the game, and obviously got the score there late. So it's still good to see. I wouldn't read too much into it, but I'm happier about him getting 5 for 77 and a score than just not being targeted and being another no-show in the game. So whatever, you got that going for you. And then you issued a challenge to a couple linebackers. I think Spence and Steven Dix.
Spence and Dix, who I got to be honest with you, I didn't think it was a banner day for the Arkansas linebackers. You could argue they were the best, quote unquote, of the defense in terms of position groups. But I felt like that was mostly because of Xavier Ansori, who I did not challenge. I felt like Arkansas needed to get their pass rush going, which, spoiler, they did not. And in fact, it was actually kind of gross how many times Jackson Dart stood in there for 5 full seconds and was able to make so many plays down the field. It didn't matter how many people Arkansas was bringing, 4, 5, 6. They weren't getting home except for Landon Jackson once in garbage time. I felt like Arkansas's linebackers were going to need to show up and need to help in the pass rush department. And I don't know if they were given a ton of opportunity to, but I did not feel like Dix and Spence accepted the challenge. Dix did end up with 8 tackles. Credit to him in that regard. But yeah, not a banner day for anybody on that Arkansas defense. So cannot say challenge accepted.
Yeah, for sure. The bold predictions, and these are always fun. Again, we call them bold for a reason because we try to think a little bit outside of the box with some of the things that may not be super likely. Sometimes we nail it, but I don't think even the boldest of predictions, though, we would have gotten to the point of Arkansas giving up 700 yards and 63 points and losing by 5 touchdowns in this game. Even though we thought the path might have been there for Ole Miss to kind of figure some things out, and Arkansas would have a bit of a letdown. But my God, I don't. If anybody called this, kudos. I didn't see it coming.
No, I certainly didn't. I mean, hell, Curtis, my final score prediction was 24-20. I thought we were looking at a slugfest. Ole Miss has one of the best defenses in the country. And so I am a big believer in their defense. And it's why I think, Curtis, I'm looking forward to that Ole Miss Georgia game next weekend. But it's a big reason why I just didn't feel like this was going to be a shootout. And I felt like Arkansas, Ole Miss hadn't scored 30 in SEC play. So I was like, hey, maybe Arkansas is going to be in a good position to rattle their what they have going offensively. But really the thing I will not let myself slide for is the fact that anytime Arkansas plays a competent quarterback, they tend to struggle. And which is the case in organized football in general. But I mean, it's not a coincidence that Garrett Nussmeier and Jackson Dart were the 2 quarterbacks that really made Arkansas pay in SEC play.
And even Alan Bowman.
Yeah, well, and weirdly enough, Alan Bowman, the experienced, the veteran guys, and you give them 29 seconds to throw, they're all going to make plays against you. And Jackson Dart made a lot of them. Yeah, that was actually one of the best, maybe the best I've ever seen Jackson Dart, because I haven't been super impressed with him in a lot of games, especially big games against SEC teams. He made some freaking beautiful throws.
Yeah, he looked good. He did not have the Halloween hangover that some of his fan base was accusing him of. And by the way, you'll have to tell me off air how it was hanging out with him on Halloween. It's awesome. I didn't know you were in on that. So cool.
I'm getting fired from my Connor Stallions job, Curtis, because clearly I didn't do enough.
Yeah, no kidding, man. But yeah, he was phenomenal, and he was taking something personally. I don't know what it was. He had a big chip on his shoulder. He was pissed when they didn't get it on the goal line stand that Arkansas had at the beginning of the game, where I was like, oh boy, here we go again. Some breaks going Arkansas's way, and maybe we got a ball game here. And then even late in the game when they ran, I don't know what was going on. Like, I thought Ole Miss was getting ready to punt. They were up by 40 points, and then they just kind of sent the offense back out there, and they had the weird formation. They wound up taking the delay of game, but Jackson Dart was pissed after that. Like, he was literally saying on the sidelines, "That pisses me off." Like, you could read his lips. So I don't know, but he was unreal. I predicted, bold prediction was that Chris Poopall would be in on a turnover for Ole Miss, back on against his old teammates or whatever. Close. Yeah. The interception fell out of his hands there. Nice hands, feet. That's why you play defense, whatever. But he was good in the game, man. Six tackles. He had 2 TFLs. Obviously, the pass breakup, had a QB hurry. So he was pretty good. You nailed one defensive touchdown.
Well, I'm going to do a victory lap for that. How about that? It did a great call on the defensive touchdown. That shows how much knowledge I have and how much ball I know, Curtis.
Yep.
You know what? Don't even read my next 2 predictions.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I won't read them right now. I'll let you kind of bask in the glory for a minute there. I said that there would be 4 turnovers in this game that came via the fumble. Well, there were 4 fumbles in this game. Yeah, there were 4 fumbles in this game. 2 of them wound up getting recovered by the other team, or one of them recovered by the other team. One of them through the back of the damn end zone. They're late in the game, but so had the number right. Only 2 of them were change of possession. So, was kind of in the ballpark there. I just thought it was going to be one of those weird games where the thing was on the turf way more than it needed to be. I'll do my next one because this will be a humbling call. I said that Taylor Green would have more passing yards than Jackson Dart, but that Arkansas would still lose. Yeah, anyway, that didn't happen. Moving on. You had a couple here.
I'm just going to be honest. These are some of the worst bold predictions I think anyone's ever put out there. So the over-under for total points in this game was 55.5, which obviously Ole Miss covered by themselves. Yep. I said on our Thursday show, Curtis, you could lower that number to 45.5, and I still would have liked the under, which is why I went with a final score of 24-20. Again, just you win some, you lose some. Just the game took a very different turn. I also said, Curtis, and this is coming off of Ole Miss's 10-sack performance. They're averaging over 4 sacks a game. I said, I think Arkansas is going to be within 1 sack of Ole Miss. I think the numbers I said were Ole Miss would have 3 sacks, Arkansas would have 2. That type of a vibe. I thought I didn't think there was going to be a massive sack disparity in this game. I would describe 8 sacks to 1. And the 1 being in garbage time. I would describe that as a large disparity, Curtis. So credit to me for getting that defensive touchdown, though. That's the one I really hung my hat on. Bold predictions, 33%. It's not a bad shot. It's not a bad shot.
There you go. What are you going to do? So
what are you going to do other than watch Arkansas lose 63-31?
That's right. Oh, man. All right. Well, that wraps it up, folks. That's all we have to say about this because we just wrapped up an hour-long post-game show. Now we did this, and we're just kind of waiting for the PFF grades to come out, and then we're going to go through and do our position-by-position report card, which will be brutal, but it'll definitely be worth a listen for you guys. That'll be out Sunday morning. So we're going to get out of here, but appreciate you guys for rocking with us as always. Make sure you tune in everywhere you need to tune in. Subscribe Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, the Pot of That Nature podcast feeds. Check out our sponsors, Rhoback. You guys see it. You're watching it, and you're like, man, what is this promo code HOGSBY20, 20% off the first purchase? Yeah, go take advantage of that because they got some really, really high-end, high-quality stuff, and that 20% goes a long way. Go check it out. They got Razorback gear, but they got a little bit of everything. Quarter zips, hoodies, polo shirts, T-shirts, joggers, you name it. They got it over there. So go check out our friends at Rhoback.com. But appreciate you guys as always. For Andrew Ellis, been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pot of That Nature, and we will see you guys in the morning. Everybody have a good one.